I'm Andrew. With my last video, I showed that seeing how graffiti artists use color proportions can actually help make your autumn landscapes pop. In this video, we're going to do the same color first thinking, but with vintage 1950s, 60s American cars. Oxidized paint, shiny chrome, colors morph like a painted canvas, and I'm used in-camera motion to make them painterly. I'll talk about camera settings, camera panning, and how I think about color so your photos tell the story. Sometimes it's right to embrace the blur, whether in camera or during post-process. This is one of my favorites, a 1960s Plymouth Barracuda. The picture I had in mind when I saw this was to energize it. Give the impression it was racing the gauntlet. I started panning vertically just before I pushed the shutter button, but this does put everything in motion, and I wanted the Barracuda to be in focus, and so I took a second photo where I had the Barracuda in focus, and in Photoshop, layered the two shots so I can mask the Barracuda as in focus and keep the background blur. But this can also be done in post-processing, software of your choice, as long as you have layers and masking available. But the point is about the colors is the color contrast. The mix of the orange and the white in the background gives great color contrast so that the stark black of the Barracuda pops and gives you that energy. Junkyards or old cars abandoned in fields are color gold mines. The patina from the rust and the oxidizing paint acts like a natural palette of unexpected hues and subtle accents. You might think about creating compositions with this kind of color first approach by focusing on the color proportions for contrast, then the line and form of the cars. So I showed 3 Dodge sedans in motion blur here, reds, whites, and blues. The red car is stacked on top of the white car, and the blue is actually in front. There's also a bit of green in the back, which helps push the red car forward in the photo. This is a simple color composition, but since the lines are angled and not straight, it gives an energy to the photo. I tend to prefer to do vertical or horizontal panning when I hand hold my camera, but you can also do a radial blur using a telephoto lens or zooming in from a wide lens. A lot of it is just trying different shutter speeds, like 1/30th of a second to 1 second, low ISO of 100 or lower. And if you're using a mirrorless camera, consider trying mechanical shutter versus electronic shutter. Try panning with your cell phone too. But before I move on, if you find this worthwhile, please hit the like button. This is a wide shot, a color field, and I wanted a Goldilocks in-camera blur. Not too little, not too much. For me, it was about the gradations of colors. It was mostly the saturated reds and orange with just a bit of the blue accent for color contrast. So this is a split complementary scheme. Another favorite of mine is the silver is the dominant color. For me, it's the accent colors of the cars in the background that give the photo contrast. Make me imagine this big, junky old Chrysler as it was, a masterful motor machine back in its heyday. I didn't actually use any camera panning in this shot. I actually blurred the background and cars in post-processing. If I had taken this at f4, at f5.6, I could have also gotten the same feel of depth, but I had more control over how I wanted the blur by doing it in post-processing. So this leads me to talk less about motion blur and focus more with Junkyard color compositions and finish this video with a slideshow.